Christy Brinker, Fostering Solutions caseworker.
Charles Noe on behalf of Mother Courtney Phillips.
Ms. Phillips, please give us your name for the record.
Courtney Phillips, mother of Lydia.
Okay, wherever you are is too close to another device. We're getting a lot of feedback, and that's not going to be an efficient way for you to participate. So please make
Sorry about that.
alternative arrangements. Okay, Mr. If you're not actively participating, please make sure your device is on mute. Ms. Berger.
Good afternoon, Ariel Berger here on behalf of respondent father Caden Lear.
Thank you. With note, I think we were set for permanency planning as in addition to the review this afternoon. But when it was adjourned, it looks like it was just set for review. So that's fine with me. We'll just conduct a review today. Let's begin with our guardian ad litem report.
Yes, Your Honor, I did visit with LPW and found her to be her usual gregarious, inquisitive, active self, and she is starting a new daycare. She's adjusting extremely well. She likes it. She's going to be with other children now, a few of them, so she's going to learn some more social skills. And she counts, and she knows when she's counting. She had chocolate covered raisins, and she counted out 5, and she counted them. Her foster parent put them down, and she counted them. And then the foster parent stopped, and she looked at her, and she said 6. So she's just so cute. But she does need permanence, Your Honor. She does.
Testimony this afternoon, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I can call Ms. Brinker, please. Brinker, you provided a court report for today's hearing. Thank you for including the cover letter with the attachments. Are there any additions or updates that you need to make to your court report for the record?
Yes, there are a few updates, if I could. The first being that I was able to make contact with Caden Lear on Thursday, and he does wish to release his rights. I have been working with the prosecutor as well as his attorney to try to get documents either electronically signed, or we're working on having that facilitated so that he can do that electronically, hopefully, to release soon. The second update is on page 4 of my court report. Under the substance abuse section, I started with "it is unknown," and it should say if she's addressing her substance abuse, because I was waiting to hear back from her counselor. I was able to make contact with Courtney's counselor, and I just had a phone conversation with her the day before yesterday. And she updated me on a few things, one of which is that is indicated in my court report that Ms. Phillips is now married, and the counselor indicated that the new husband is indeed new. She didn't know any history and said that he kind of came out of the blue on that. During the last reporting period, Courtney was still with Sergio, so Mr. Hathcote is a new development. I did talk to the counselor asking if Courtney has been working with her regarding domestic violence. She has not addressed domestic violence during her sessions. I asked her compliance regarding substance abuse. She states that Courtney minimizes her role in her criminal court proceedings as well as for substance abuse, including the positive drug screening that occurred on March 6th for cocaine. Also, new development is that Courtney was checked into an inpatient psych program last Friday. And obviously she has now since been released, and I am waiting to get her released so that we can get the details of that.
Thank you. And is there anything at this point in time, the termination petition was filed back in October, and it has been delayed several months now. Has there been sufficient progress to reconsider that petition or the current goal for the child at this time?
No, there has not, especially with the recent positive drug screen.
And to clarify, and as your court report indicates, that drug screen was confirmed, correct?
Correct.
The child remains in foster care and there has been no placement change, correct?
Correct. No placement change. She's doing well, stable in her placement, and she is. I was just there on Saturday, and as indicated by Ms. Wilhelm's testimony, I again observed her outside and counting, and she's a joy and doing very, very well.
And at this time, what remains the risk of harm to the child if the court were to return the child to either parent today?
Again, the mental health concerns and substance abuse concerns were two of the major things that led to the removal and our involvement in the foster care system. Ms. Phillips was recently, this weekend, in an inpatient psych program. So mental health concerns remain, as well as the substance abuse concerns.
Isn't it fair to say that, Ms. Phillips has not tested positive for any substances, and I think this is maybe her second positive screen in 6 months or longer. Is that accurate?
She tested positive for marijuana in, I believe, December. But other than that, she had not tested positive for cocaine in quite some time, yes.
And some might argue that that is, substantial compliance. Can you elaborate why there's still a concern?
I'm sorry, one more time.
So some would argue that that would be substantial compliance with sobriety. And can you explain why that is a concern?
Well, it's still a concern also because she isn't really addressing it with her counselor. Her counselor states that she really minimizes her role. I understand that relapse is part of recovery. So, one could argue that point. However, she, again, is not really addressing it and minimizing her role in substance abuse treatment with her therapist.
And as relates to the mental health component, Ms. Phillips has participated in therapy, kind of on and off throughout the case. And also, I guess, maybe appropriately had sought some inpatient treatment over the weekend. Some might argue that that is benefiting from mental health services. Can you explain why that's a concern?
Again, she's just not stable at this point. I think that, her checking into mental health services over the weekend proves that, there's still some issues with mental health instability.
Thank you. And at this time, is there anything that you would like to highlight or point out for the court as relates to the child or how case management is going?
No, I have no highlights other than what I've already given in my brief opening.
Okay. And were you able, I noticed that you submitted a case service plan and Ms. Phillips' signature was not on it. Were you able to review that case service plan with her during this review period?
Her case service plan,
Yes.
was I able to review it with her? At this point, we have not reviewed it, item by item. We've been in this case now for 18, 19 months at this point. Most of the services have not changed. She knows our concerns as indicated. And I do check in with her regarding her employment, her housing, so her counseling.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to confirm that she's aware of her case service plan and what is required.
Yes, absolutely.
And other than that, I don't believe I have any further questions. At this time, Your Honor, I would move to admit the court report with the attachments that are noted on the court cover letter. Thank you.
Thank you. They're admitted. Questions for this witness, Mr. Noe?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Brinker.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Brinker, Did you administer the drug screen that you referenced in your testimony?
I did not know.
Okay. Do you know where that drug screen was administered?
Yes, at Runaway Development Corporation.
Are you familiar with their drug screening procedures and policies?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What do you know about those?
That they're done via urine screen. The results are immediate, and the client can request, if they disagree with the result, they can request to have those results sent off to a lab for further testing.
Okay. Do you know was that done?
Pardon me?
Do you know if that was done, if they were sent to the lab for further testing?
Ms. Phillips is indicated in my court report and is attached as one of the exhibits, did request for that to be sent off. And that's what the added labs report, toxicology report is that her positive screen was sent off to the lab and came back positive.
Do you know if you know how they store that sample until it's tested at the lab?
They, I believe, stored in a temperature controlled unit.
Can you say that again? There's some background noise. I couldn't hear. Can you say that again, please?
They stored in a temperature controlled unit.
Okay. All right. Do you know, is that sample available for independent screening? If my client were to have that independently screened.
I believe at this point it is destroyed. I think once it gets sent to the lab, I believe it's destroyed.
Okay. Okay. In terms of the, you know, if you don't know, that's okay. You don't, if that's their policy.
I'm sorry, you're speaking a little fast.
Yeah. Do you know if that's the policy of Illinois Development to destroy that, or the lab destroy that once it's tested?
I do believe that is their policy, yes.
Is that a lab policy, or is that a Illinois Development policy? Do you know?
I believe it's the lab policy. I can certainly look into it for verification though.
Okay. All right. In terms of the inpatient, your testimony is that Courtney was at an inpatient facility recently.
Correct. Her husband let me know that she was in the inpatient facility. As
You know
well
what
as her
this-
therapist.
And what was that facility?
I don't know. Her therapist told me that I believe that she was at University of Michigan waiting for transport to another hospital. And Mr. Halfcoat did not tell me which facility it was.
Do you know, was it a so you have no idea the nature of what that was about? Is that right?
I have no idea about what.
The nature of why she was admitted.
I do not know.
Okay. Because
Her counselor,
go ahead.
her
I'm sorry. Let me
counselor did
interrupt.
indicate.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep interrupting you. Go ahead and answer. Sorry.
Her counselor did indicate that her husband thought it was a good idea for her to seek additional treatment because she was acting irrational,
Okay.
is what the counselor had told me.
Okay. That's what the counselor told you, that the counselor heard from Mr. Hathcote. Is that right?
I believe she actually heard it from Courtney Phillips.
Okay. All right. So Courtney told the
Her
counselor
counselor.
irrational, and then the counselor relayed that to you. Is that also correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. In terms of that, if she was acting irrationally, do you think it was a good idea for her to probably admit herself?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So you think that'd be a good thing?
For her to commit herself, yeah, she's gonna harm herself or others, absolutely.
Okay. Now, in terms of the case service plan, do you believe that her admitting herself would be her following that case service plan?
I don't have a copy of the case service plan in front of me, so I don't have the verbiage. However, I was not notified by Ms. Phillips that she was admitting herself or that she was having any sort of mental instability. And I do believe that that is in the case service plan, that she would be to notify the caseworker.
Okay. And you said you're looking for a release to get that information. Who do you need that release signed by Ms. Phillips, I presume?
Yes, I have not requested that out from her as of yet.
And how would that email, will that release be emailed to her, I presume?
Yes.
Okay, okay. And in terms of her counselor, who's her counselor? If you can remind me again, please.
Can't remember off the top of my head, sorry.
Okay, all right. And you said that her counselor, one of the things that you're understanding she's supposed to be discussing with her counselor is domestic violence. Is that correct?
Yes, sorry, and it's Lisa Jackson, it just came to me. Lisa Jackson with New Oakland Family Centers.
Oh, great, thank you. And your understanding is one of the things she's supposed to be discussing at those sessions is domestic violence. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Was Ms. Phillips, you're understanding, the victim of domestic violence?
Ms. Phillips was the victim of domestic violence with Mr. Weir and also has previous history in domestic violence. And that is ordered in her case service plan that she was to seek domestic violence counseling. Being that she and Mr. Weir separated, we modified that so that she would just address it in her individual sessions. We thought that that would be more beneficial than going through a program. And Ms. Jackson stated that she was unaware that that was something that was supposed to be addressed.
Was the case service plan provided to Ms. Jackson?
I think that Ms. Phillips provided it because Ms. Jackson was able to tell me the items that they were working on. Ms. Phillips had also recently asked Ms. Jackson to engage in couples counseling, and Ms. Jackson stated that that again was not among their goals of the case service plan that I was requesting or that they had established together.
Okay. Do you and you said you don't have a copy of the case service plan in front of you, correct?
I do not know.
Okay. But you'd agree that that part of that is, and if I'm being out of order, I'd ask counsel to interrupt me, but you would agree that part of it is, and I quote, the myth that Courtney Phillips agrees to participate in individual counseling to address any mental health needs and to assist and understand the pattern of abuse as it relates to domestic discord and violence she's experienced in past relationships. Would you agree that's the best of your memory, at least, Ms. Brinker, a part of the case service plan?
Sure, yes.
Okay,
That's
all right.
correct.
And you're saying that's an issue that has not been resolved with her counselor?
I'm sorry, the question was?
Yeah, you're saying that your statement is that that has not been resolved with the counselor.
Correct. The counselor states that they have not addressed that.
You know, when did the counselor become aware that that was going to be one of the issues of the case service plan that needed to be addressed?
You know, Ms. Phillips is the one that sought out the counselor and had the specific recommendations that she needed to be able to comply with our case service plan. So I do not direct what Ms. Phillips and Ms. Jackson discuss in their sessions. So at this point, it would have been Courtney Phillips' responsibility to notify her counselor that that's something that needs to be addressed in her sessions.
Okay, all right. When you had the conversation with the counselor with Ms. Jackson, did you address with her that that's something that should be addressed in the counseling sessions? Was the domestic violence issue?
I had indicated this previously that yes, that was one of the 3 components that I was looking for her to be talking about with her in our recent conversation 2 days ago, that domestic violence was something that was to be addressed.
Okay, all right. In this last reporting period, have you specifically addressed the issue of domestic violence with Courtney or no?
Have I addressed it?
Yeah, have you?
I haven't had any concerns up until the point of, as of recent, where she just recently became married. And so
Okay.
that would, in a relationship, so therefore I would revisit that subject with her.
Okay. Is there any concerns that Ms. Phillips is involved in a domestic violence situation right now?
The counselor does have some concerns. She states that she thinks that the new husband is very controlling. And she states that he's present during their counseling visits, which are done via Zoom. And Courtney looks to him during their Zoom meetings before responding to her counselor. So yes, the counselor does have concerns regarding the nature of the relationship.
Unfortunately, none of those are done by Zoom.
So you can't really be involved in the proceedings right now.
Right. You're not an active party, Mr. Hathcote, and you need to give the phone back to Ms. Phillips immediately. You're compromising her right to take part in this hearing. Ms. Phillips, if you cannot prevent Mr. Hathcote from interfering with our proceedings, we'll have to remove you from the meeting. Go ahead, Mr. Noe.
Thank you, Your Honor. It sounded like Ms. Brinker, that was from a letter or something. Is that a letter that you were provided by Ms. Jackson?
No,
Okay. All
I
right.
don't have a letter. I spoke with her verbally.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Is that something that did she ever give you a letter to include in the court report for this last reporting period or no?
No, not during this last reporting period.
Okay. Did you ask her to provide one or no?
I think that's why I reached out. I can't speak. Honestly, I think that we got the last update right before the last court report from her. I may have, and again, Ms. Jackson did say that Ms. Phillips has been participating and their sessions are every other week. So she has been participating. So and that if she did provide a letter, that's all that the letter indicated. It was the phone conversation that elicited the additional comments regarding the specific services.
Okay. All right. In terms of in this last reporting period, were you able to confirm employment for Ms. Phillips?
Ms. Phillips has sent me screenshots of I'm not sure what app it is that she uses, but she did indicate that she has gainful employment, mostly through her food business. I did request additional documentation, such as a financial institution or bank statement, so that there was additional proof, and I have not received anything from her after that request.
Okay, all right. How about her? Historically, she has had stable housing. Has that continued? Has that stability in her housing continued since the last reporting period?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay, all right. And how were you able to confirm that?
I did not go visit during this reporting period, no.
Okay. So, in terms of risks for returning the child back to her mother, you would agree that housing is not one of those risks. Does that agree? Would you agree with that?
Well, in the case service plan, the housing, it's not just about the house, it's a stable environment. And at this point, she got married to a man that I had never heard of a month ago. I wouldn't consider that to be a stable home environment. We know nothing about Mr. Hathcote or, so yeah, housing is still a concern. The physical house, probably not, but the home environment, absolutely yes.
Okay. Now, in terms of your I guess your investigation during this last reporting period, have you looked into Mr. Hathcote and any concerns he would present to you?
I have not looked into Mr. Hathcote. He did send me his driver's license on, I believe, March 27th. I sent him, and I believe Ms. Phillips also, a form for him to sign off for me to run his records. He also just recently moved here from New Hampshire. His license is a ID from New Hampshire. I asked him to get out of state criminal clearances, and I have not been provided those or the authorization to run the criminal background checks at this time.
Okay. What about drug screening? Have you inquired about drug screening on him too, or no?
I believe that he did, we did request that he go, and it is indicated in the court report, he went, and I think that he tested positive, actually, I know he tested positive for alcohol.
Okay, all right. In terms of positive tests, Ms. Phillips tested on this test, you testified that she tested positive in the court report for cocaine during this last reporting period. Is that correct?
She tested positive for cocaine on March 6th, yes.
Okay. When was the last positive screen for cocaine on this matter?
I believe it was last, I'm going off memory, but I believe it was last June.
Okay, so approximately 10 months ago, give or take.
Sure.
All right. And she's had regular and random testing, is that correct?
Yes, she has participated in random drug testing.
Okay, all right. Is that one positive screen for cocaine in the last 10 months enough to give you concern on substance abuse?
Yes.
Okay, all right. It's your testimony also that Ms. Phillips has consistently gone to counseling, is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it, please?
She has consistently been going to her therapy or counseling sessions, correct?
She has not physically been going since her and Sergio broke up. Apparently the loss of transportation has been a barrier for her.
Okay. In your court report, though, you mentioned that she, after you spoke to Ms. Jackson, that she has been reporting weekly for her counseling sessions. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Has something changed between when you authored that and current?
Yes, I spoke with Ms. Jackson 3 days ago.
Okay, all right. So that as Ms. Thomas asked you, that's an update on the court report, correct?
As noted at the beginning of my testimony, yes.
Okay, all right. But that she did it via like electronically Zoom or something like that.
I'm sorry.
Did she do it like she did it via Zoom or video conference or something?
Yeah, she does it via Zoom or video conference, yes.
Okay, all right. Your Honor, I guess I would just indicate for the record that I quite frankly, I have to, I don't know, I don't have much availability. I have to pick up my daughter in 15 minutes. So I didn't anticipate having to go till 5:15 or 5:30 this evening. So I don't know if we can get a continuance or we can proceed, or we can continue at the termination trial that's currently set, Judge, but I have no options. I have to not proceed anymore today.
Mr. Noy, our next review will be scheduled in conjunction with the termination trial,
Fine.
especially given the statutory application of the provision asking me to look at her progress in the last 6 months at least, and whether or not that's sufficient. So if it's any consolation to you, we will be having our next review in conjunction with the termination trial on May 23rd.
That's fine. If I can just preserve the issues I still wish to present for that hearing, I would want to place on the record that I do still have further testimony and further possibly witnesses to present for this review period that would be coinciding with the termination petition as well, though. It's all the same testimony, to tell you the truth.
Any objection this time?
Your Honor, I think that's entirely appropriate. These proceedings are considered one continuous proceeding. I don't know that we're going to have a full court report anyway. I think we'll probably have a memo update and some testimony, but otherwise the proofs are already in the record as relates to the termination petition. So I don't see why that would be a problem.
Answer.
No objection.
Did you wish to So let me ask you all this. If I reserve your right, Mr. Noe, and Ms. Berger, to ask any questions about these materials at our next review, would you like me to just simply enter the order that we've concluded our review today, leaving that door open for you at the next hearing? Is that satisfactory, or would you like me to literally just continue this here? Preference?
Doesn't matter to me, Your Honor.
I would prefer to just continue this hearing onto the next hearing, without an order.
Ms. Thomas?
I have no preference, Your Honor.
All right, we will continue the hearing to May 23rd to be heard in conjunction with the termination trial, which is currently scheduled for. So we'll have that afternoon to continue to explore the materials in this review hearing, as well as anything that's happened in the month of May, and of course, the request for termination. Unless there's any questions, all other prior orders will remain in full force and effect pending our proceedings on the 23rd of May, and we'll be in recess.
Thank you, Judge.